For today's feature and video, we enter Ocklawaha, Florida, right here on Highway 25, just southeast of Ocala. I actually used to live here in Ocklawaha way back in 2009, and it is here where today's subject matter happened and took place back in 1935. And we begin this video as I parked in front of BARKER's here east of Ocklawaha on East Highway 25. This restaurant and bar is themed after Ocklawaha's most infamous and iconic citizen there ever was, BARKER. Here's a photograph of BARKER herself, born Arizona Clark of Missouri in 1873. It is said not only did she inspire movies about herself, she was said to be the main inspiration for Mama Fratelli, The Goonies. One of my favorite movies of all time. The Fratellis were the BARKERs, in a way. Inspired. Spielberg, I see what you did there. BARKER, Mama Fratelli. Thought I'd set the video up right here in front of the sign with a Tommy gun and the car, the Prohibition era car, which is most appropriate and awesome. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome if it's your first time. Bear with me, folks. I have to set this video up very carefully, very thoroughly, and properly. This is a big moment for me. I am doing something today, taking you along with me, of course. I am doing something today I've been wanting to do for about 13 years. I am going inside of the BARKER house, the location of the deadliest, longest shootout in FBI history, where BARKER of the BARKER Carpus Gang and Fred Barker, one of her 4 sons, the location of where they were shot and killed on January 16th, 1935. The house used to sit right here on Lake Weir, and it has been moved to a park, a local park, which I will show you today. I will give you the rundown of the tour and all of that, and give you the story. I used to live here in Ocklawaha back in the summer and fall of 2009 with my parents. My dad worked in Ocala. They moved from Tampa briefly. It was a brief stay up here. It didn't work out, but I did live with them here for several months. I had left my band. I was in a hardcore traveling band in 2009. You know, I decided to call it quits, and this is where my parents were living at the time, and I was broke. I had no money, so I had to move in with them. So I enjoyed living up here in rural Florida and getting to know the story of BARKER. That's how I first learned of this history and became fascinated with it, was just living here. And I'm gonna show you my old stomping grounds today, which is very relevant because it's where BARKER and her son Fred and the rest of the BARKER Carpus Gang used to hang out. So I'm gonna show you their old hangout, the location of the old house, and the house itself. A tour I have been on the list to take for 2 years now. Finally today, June 15th, 2022, my name surfaced to the top of the list, and I'm able to take a tour of the house today. So I'll give you the rundown of all of that which I just mentioned. I am super excited, guys. I hope you enjoy this video. This is Ocklawaha, Florida. I am Tampa J, formerly Ocklawaha J for a brief moment. There's much ahead. I'm so stoked. All right, here we go. Are you ready? And I just had to stop the car and say hello to these Florida cranes. Hello there, birdies. You kind of remind me of flamingos. A little bit. You're just not pink enough. Just not pink enough. Southeast 115th here in Ocklawaha. This house right here is where I lived with my parents. They rented this house during our brief stay here in Ocklawaha. Looks a whole lot different than it did back then. The yard has grown up. It's pretty wild looking, actually, but I just wanted to show you and document for my own personal documentations the house where I used to live. Right there, right here in Ocklawaha. And just west of the main crossroads, right here along 25 before Lake Weir, right here is the former location of the BARKER house, where the longest shootout in FBI history went down among this property. This is where the house used to sit. Now currently a brand new residence being constructed right over here. I was out here 4 years ago and there was nothing here. The lot was empty, but now it looks like someone's purchased the property, half of the property, and started constructing a home over there. They're building it right now, but right out here, somewhere beneath these trees, is where the house you will see today, the Ma Barker house that we will be inside of. But this is the location of the shootout on January 16th, 1935. In the wee hours of the morning, heavily armed FBI agents surrounded the property, and the gun battle was said to last over 4 hours. Ultimately, Ma Barker and her son Fred were killed in the upstairs bedroom. Ma Barker found with a Tommy gun in her hand. Here's a look of the Barker hideout house when it sat here on that day, just after the shootout. Those are FBI agents in their cars there. This is where it used to sit, right here on this property, and that's what it looked like up until the time it was moved across the lake. I think it was moved in 2016. We will learn that for sure. Confirm that for sure later on the tour. Also, I found this old photo of the house, kind of a postcard looking photo, pointing the location of where Ma Barker and Fred were killed, up there to the left in the upstairs bedroom. We will go inside that bedroom today. The house, this house, sat right here. Pretty gnarly. Who was Ma Barker and the Carpus Barker gang, and why were they so infamous, and what did they do? Especially, who was Ma Barker? Well, I want to start off by reading a quote from my friend and author Mark Muncy in his book Freaky Florida. He sums up the story I'm about to tell you today in his book here, if you want to check it out later. But here's a quote from J. Edgar Hoover about Ma Kate Arizona Barker. J. Edgar said, "She was the most vicious and dangerous and resourceful criminal of the last decade." Quoted to say that during the decade of Prohibition and Public Enemy era, as Al Capone and John Dillinger. It was the time of the gangsters, that era, that this gang, the Alvin, Carpus, and Barker brothers gang, Ma Barker, were known as some of the most vicious and ruthless criminals, robbing banks, murdering police officers, anyone that looked like a cop, they would shoot at point blank range. They actually assassinated a state attorney and would hold rich public figures for ransom. They were ruthless, vicious killers, guys. Make no mistake, there is no glorification of those types of things here on this channel. This is simply just the history of what happened and how Ma Barker and Fred Barker were hiding out here in Ocklawaha back in 1935. And right here at the main crossroads of Ocklawaha, you turn right onto Southeast 135th Avenue, down to Lake Weir, down to Gator Joe's. I love this town. One of my favorite places in the world right here, Ocklawaha. Right here on Johnson's Beach, where we're going to eat some gator and check out the Ma Barker Hideaway, the eatery. Right here back in the 1930s, Ma Barker and her sons used to eat as well. Here's the parking lot and the main signage as we're coming up. It looks pretty packed for midday. Welcome to world famous Gator Joe's Beach Bar and Grill. This will be probably, I don't know, my 20th time here and my second time vlogging it. And here we are. I return again to Gator Joe's, world famous Gator Joe's restaurant, established in 1926. The Barker gang themselves once ate in this restaurant right here on Johnson's Beach. There's a bit of a volleyball area out here, and also to the left and down around there's a beach area. A lot of folks are out here taking advantage of the beach, and we're gonna have lunch and share a bit of history about Gator Joe's inside here. I'm gonna read this. This will pretty much sum up what happened here. In 1934, while trying to find the Ma Barker gang, the FBI intercepted a letter mentioning Old Joe near the Barker hideout. Lake Weir was pinpointed as it was found to have a big gator known as Old Joe. On January 16, 1935, the FBI found the Barker gang an eighth of a mile, just right over that way, from Gator Joe's, and in a 4-hour battle, Ma and one of her sons were killed. Joe, on the other hand, lived until 1957. He was a 14-foot long. He was 14 feet long and weighed 800 pounds. Old Joe, there's the legend of Gator Joe. Ocala Morning Banner, Barker and Ma slain in battle of Lake Weir. Here's an old newspaper article from January 17th, 1935, the day after. And right here where I bought my t-shirt 4 years ago out of this display case, a stuffed gator in there, but on top of the display case right here, Gator Joe's foot. Look at this. That is the foot of the gator, Gator Joe. It says Joe was 15 feet 7 inches and lived on Lake Weir in the early 1900s. He caught his fame from the Ma Barker gang, who tried to kill him on several occasions, but Joe ultimately got them instead. His local legend led the FBI to the Barker hideout on January 16, 1935, and after a 4-hour gun battle, back into the history there, in 1952, Joe crossed paths with a local gator hunter named Vic Skidmore, and it looks like since then, Joe's foot has been on display here. It's even actually been to Kentucky, it says. So there you go. That is Gator Joe's foot. Legend of Gator Joe. And above the bar, a giant photograph of this building back in the 1940s, Barnes Beach, Johnson's Beach. Gator Joe's used to be called Barnes Beach. And it looks like there used to be a water slide out the back here. That's pretty cool. And I'm gonna go out back and order some food, but I just wanted to show you the aerial view of Johnson's Beach here at Gator Joe's. A nice little beach area. The water pretty clear and not polluted. Lake Weir out in the middle of the state, just before the Ocala National Forest. It's one of my favorite spots. I really love Ocklawaha. And just a look at the inside of the restaurant before I go out back. A giant gator mounted up there. Wow, that looks to be 14 to 15 feet. That thing is huge. And here I am walking out on the deck. They've got a nice deck over here that sits right on top of the water, and a lot of times you see boats come up here. A lot of people out here swimming. Check it out, Johnson's Beach. And here it is, arrived. My gator tail Philly sandwich with gator meat, just as I remember it. Provolone cheese, mushroom, an onion, and a basket of fries. And that was a good meal. Gator, right here at world famous Gator Joe's. I love the insignia over here, the logo, the gator winking with the beer. And right here, ooh, look at this guy. It's always been sitting here ever since I remember. That could be Joe himself. He's missing a foot. Also found these photos online of them transferring the house from its original location across Lake Weir here to where it is today in Carney Island. They put it on a barge and floated it right across the lake. There's a screenshot from, looks like a news report. Look at that. That's something you don't see every day. I was wondering how they transported that thing. Marion County Board of County Commissioners, Carney Island Recreation and Conservation Area. Inside this park that sits on Lake Weir is where the current location of the Ma Barker house is, and this is where the tour is going down. I can't believe this is happening. At 3 o'clock, less than an hour's time, we will be going inside the Ma Barker house. I am super stoked. If you'd like to come on this tour yourself, mabarker.org, mabarkerhouse.org. Check it out, get your name on the list, and you can come out here yourself. Now keep in mind, it took me 2 years to get out here. This is a long waiting list. They only do this tour 2 or 3 times a week, and there are so many people that want to get inside the house. I also want to point out that this is 115th Avenue. Earlier, I showed you up along the road there, the house where I used to live. I used to live on this road and come to this park. Never could I imagine, or anyone would have imagined, that the house would be moved inside this park someday, and here it is today, and we're here. Hey there, buddy. Don't mean to frighten you. You're awfully close to the road. Hi. I think he's hissing at me. I'm scaring him. All right, I'll leave you be. Oh, there he goes. Wow, he's fast. I didn't think turtles were that fast. I have parked my car underneath a shade tree. I was told to come to the Little Lake Weir Recreational Center. This is where a tram will pick me up and take me to the tour. This is the little Lake Weir over here. The big Lake Weir across the road through the park. And here's a map here of the park to help put things in better perspective. This body of water over here is Lake Weir. The former house and Gator Joe's restaurant would have been up here somewhere. And this is Carney Island right here. And we are right there on Little Lake Weir on the west side. And I believe we'll be taking the tram somewhere out in this area. We'll know when we get there. And parked right next to me, a classic Corvette. I like that color. Very creamsicle looking. I love Corvettes, especially classic ones like this. And there's the tram. It looks like the previous tour is coming back to the parking lot. This is cool. This is it. I'm on the next one. All right, we've taken off. Just a small group here. 8 people total. Okay, turning right. Actually near the entrance of where I first drove into the park. Now we're making our way off-road. And I believe I see the house coming up on the left out into the clearing.
House was built in 1930. It's set over here on North Shore. It is the home where the shootout of all Barker and Freddie were killed in that upstairs bedroom. The property was sold, but before they sold the property, Carson Good, who's a great-grandson of Carson Bradford, he and his sister decided they didn't need the house no more. So they put it up for sale. At first they tried to get it, sell it as a museum. They even had it listed with Sotheby's in New York. There's a video of Carson Good speaking. Joe Vogue was in the house with him, sitting at the dining room table, and how you'll probably hear 2,000 shots in the house. Because Carson Good in this interview, that when he was asked how many shots were in the house, he said over 2,000. So there's where that number comes from. That's pretty much a myth. Joe Vogue, who knows more about this house and the shootout than most of us in Marion County, said he almost swallowed his false teeth when that came out of his mouth. But they lifted the house up on Wayne, told some of you on wheels over there on North Shore. 2 things happened over there before they got ready to move it. An FBI agent was on the property for a week over there while they got ready to move it. What he was looking for, we don't know. Don't know if he thought he'd find money. We know that Lonnie, the park ranger, had already got all the money. But the other interesting thing that happened, they had a metal detecting group come out of DeLand up here, and they went over every inch of the property around there. Around some of the trees, they found several shell casings, which the agents would have been firing, if gotten lost or whatever. The other interesting thing they found, Freddie Barker was known to wear a little gold pinky ring. In the metal detecting thing, they found a little gold ring with the initials of FGB on it, which would have stood for Frederick George Barker. It's put away in safekeeping, but it is believed to be the little ring that Freddie always wore.
Wow.
The house was floated. They raised it up on the wheels, floated it over here. As you can see, this is real steep, so they couldn't get it up here, so the path was clear.
The lake down there.
Way, goes back to the right.
Lake Weir.
To some more level property on the lake. So that's where they unloaded it. When they pushed it over here on the barge, it was pushed by a little old John boat. There's pictures in there showing that. They did not strap the chimney down. All the furnishings in the house, if they thought it might break, they laid it down or something like that, but they moved it over here all like that. It was all remotely controlled to bring it up here. It is 4-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, 2,100 square feet.
It's pretty big.
Which was a pretty big mansion back in those days. It was one of the first houses built with gypsum board, which we all pretty much nowadays know as drywall. And that's why you can still see where they patched all the holes. They didn't know what they were doing, patched at them. If you see actual holes in there, It's probably where over the years people have dug at the patching and got them cleared out. The brick, when they brought it over here, over there they dug out to get the wheels under. Over here they set it on a concrete pad. Well, they couldn't get the wheels out from under. So the house sets 2 blocks higher now than it did when it was over on North Shore. The brick you'll see around the bottom, those are the original brick. The difference is now, instead of just setting on brick, those are all concrete block pillars under there. They took the original brick, had a masonry guy shave them down, trim them up, whatever, and those are all just facade, but they are still the original brick from the house. They did remove the front porch. When they moved it, it was all ate up with termite, and Lonnie and his staff recreated it as close as they could. 80, like you said, 80 to 90% of the furniture in the house is the original furniture. The house was lived in and or used as a summer home until 2014 when they decided to sell it. You wonder, how does this happen? One family keep all these heirlooms, keeps all this house. Well, every generation of the Carson Bradford family only had 1 child until the very last one had the 2, and that's the 2 that decided to sell the property. And the house was, the county government was given 30 days to get it off of that site over there. So county government can work quickly. They came up with $260,000 to $70,000 to move the house. It was cheaper to float it across the lake than it was take down all the power lines, have to trim trees and all that to get it over this site. That's about all I know. I mean, Wayne's told you several things about the house, I guess. Even the furniture, the front rockers on the front porch, original rocking chairs, they came right off the front porch of a Cracker Barrel. If you don't believe me, look at the back. Lonnie is the guy that was more or less in charge of leveling this lot, clearing out the woods, clearing out the path, and kind of overseeing the whole project, picked out this site for him. So he's over like 12 parks in the southern part of Marion County. He only has a staff of 7, I believe it is. Yep. So they have to take care of all these parks. So they're pretty understaffed. But glad that Marion County got the house and got it moved to.
It's awesome.
You want to go from here?
Yeah, I did spend 25 years in the federal prison system. I was a supervisor down at Coleman, so I retired. Okay, again, my name is Wayne. That's Terry, volunteer. Lonnie's the park ranger. We're going to walk you through the house today. We're going to tell you what happened on the morning of January 16th, 1935. Everything I'm going to tell you is documented. Unless it's my opinion, I'll let you know that also. The time frame we're going to use, 1928 to May 1st, 1936. The tour is going to be very informal, but I think it's very informative. Please ask all the questions you want, take all the pictures you want. Like Terry said, as you walk through the house, just keep in mind everything in there was here the day of the shooting. 90% of it's original, so it's older than all of us and fragile and been in a shootout with the feds. So just be careful as you walk through.
What was the temperature of the day the shootout happened?
It was actually about 68 degrees because it was early in the morning. So I've looked at that, and I've actually come out of my house every morning since these tours started at 6:56 a.m. and stood there because I think that's the time when it got light enough to see around the house. I'll get to that in just a second. So everybody's been told this was the longest shootout in the history of the FBI. Not quite. It was the DOI. It was the Division of Investigation. This shooting was January 16, 1935. The FBI became official January 1st, 1936. So it was almost a year later. Every agent that was here that morning wrote a memo. In that memo, they identified themselves and identified the fact that they worked for the Division of Investigation. Nowhere in any paperwork does it say FBI. Now, you still had 14 special agents under the direction, supervision of J. Edgar Hoover. Is that close enough to be the FBI? Sure, of course it is. But it wasn't. It was the Division of Investigation.
I thought they were called G-Men.
Well, I'll get to that in a second, too.
Okay.
The other thing is we were told it was a 5-hour shootout. Not quite. It was a 2-hour shootout and a 3-hour standoff. The gunfight started just a few minutes before 7 a.m. And according to Agent Thomas McDade, no shots come out of the house after 9 a.m. Agent Connolly's memo said the gunfight was over at 9:15. So give or take a few minutes, you got a 2-hour gunfight. They didn't go in and find the bodies till about noon. There's your other 3 hours. All right, so the gunfight was only 2 hours. Terry said about the 2,000 rounds. Nowhere in any documented paperwork is that number found. The grandson threw that number out. It hit the press. It got legs, and that's what everybody has heard. There are only 2 numbers documented that we know of. Agent Stapleton went in the house after the shootout. He counted, he did an inventory. His official count turned into J. Edgar Hoover said he counted 641 bullets in the house. Out of that 641 bullets, 147 of them are in that upstairs bedroom right there. Out of that 147 bullets, 3 of them are sitting right here in Ma's chest. 3 of them are in Freddie's head. And Freddie's got 10 bullet wounds in his left shoulder. We'll walk you through what we think happened when we get up there. It's one of those opinions because we'll probably never know 100%, but I think we got it pretty good. The other thing is, everybody knows, the only other figure we have is Agent Connolly in one of his memos said he estimated 250 rounds were shot out of the house by the Barkers at the agents. No agents were wounded or killed, okay? The other thing is, everybody knows Ma Barker and her son died in the house. Ma Barker is more famous now than she ever was in her lifetime. When Marion County moved the house, it put the house and Ma Barker in the headlines. So everybody's familiar with Ma Barker. What people aren't familiar with, most people come on this tour, are not familiar with the Barker Karpis gang. And that's why I'm going to take a few minutes real quick and explain a little bit about them to you. Hopefully it'll make this tour a little more interesting. On Tuesday, October 29, 1929, Wall Street crashed, and it plunges the country into the Great Depression. With that depression came the rise of the American gangster. The American gangster was defined as gangs of men and women going from town to town, state to state, especially in the Midwest, robbing banks, gas stations, drug stores, jewelry stores, you name it. If there was money there, these guys robbed it. If you interfered in a robbery, they'd shoot and kill you. It's that simple. These are not nice people. Out of this gangster era, there came 6 big names of notoriety. By far and away, the most famous of them all is Bonnie and Clyde, followed by John Dillinger, Pretty Boy Floyd, Babyface Nelson, Machine Gun Kelly, and last and the least known was the Barker Karpis gang. They formed in 1928 when Freddie Barker, the youngest of 4 sons, met Alvin Karpis while they were both serving time in the Kansas State Prison for robbery. They became good friends and stayed good friends right up until Freddie Barker was shot dead in that bedroom upstairs. Alvin Karpis was born in Canada in 1907, came to this country, he was 5 years old. His first arrest, he was selling pornography on the street corners of Tulsa, Oklahoma at the age of 11. He would go on to become half of the Barker Karpis gang. He participated in all the robberies and kidnappings. Alvin Karpis is finally apprehended on Friday, May 1st, 1936 in New Orleans by the then established FBI. J. Edgar Hoover is credited with making the arrest himself. Alvin Karpis is convicted of robbery and kidnapping. He is sentenced to prison for life. He will go to Leavenworth Federal Prison in Kansas for a month, and from there he goes to Alcatraz, where he will spend the next 26 years and several months. Saturday, March 23rd, 1963, the government shuts Alcatraz down for good. The inmates have been moved to McNeil Penitentiary in Tacoma, Washington. Alvin Karpis is finally paroled in 1969. He is immediately deported back to Canada. Canada doesn't want him. He moves to Spain. He dies in Spain 10 years later, 1979, at the age of 72. Karpis wrote 2 books before he died. One is called On the Rock. It's about his life, 26 years at Alcatraz. The other book is called Public Enemy No. 1, The Alvin Karpis Story. In that book, he says in his own words, I knew at an early age I was born to be a criminal, and I have no regrets, and I offer no apologies for the life I've lived. Alvin Karpis is considered one of the more intelligent of the gangsters. So him and Freddie met in 1928. They got out of prison in 1931. In September of 1932, they were joined by Arthur Barker, Doc, D-O-C or D-O-C-K, depending on the book you read. Doc Barker is Freddie Barker's immediate older brother, Ma Barker's 3rd born. Together, the 3 of them formed the Barker Karpis gang, all right? The gang had anywhere between 20 and 25 members, men and women, who passed through this house. Over the 4-year lifespan of the gang never pulled off a robbery or kidnapping with more than about 7 guys. Men like Larry Duvall, Clarence Duvall, Vern Miller, Volney Davis, Elmer Farmer, William Matheson, Paula Harmon, Edna Murray. I just mentioned that these are some of the people, these guys were cold-blooded killers, and some of them passed through this house. And these are names that have been lost to the trash bin of history, and you're probably never going to hear some of these names except for right here. The Barker Carpus Gang, why we're here. The Barker Carpus Gang have been charged with killing 14 police and 16 civilians. John Dillinger shot 1. Bonnie and Clyde 4. Pretty Boy 1. Baby Machine Gun Kelly none. The Barker Carpus Gang killed 14 police, 16 civilians. In today's money, they stole $3.5 million. Their largest take, they kidnapped a man named Edward Bremer, or Edward Bremer. He was a very wealthy banker in St. Paul, Minnesota. His father owned the Schmidt Beer Company in St. Paul, Minnesota. They kidnapped him and safely returned him and got $200,000. John Dillinger's largest take was $75,000. He robbed a bank in East Chicago, Indiana, and in that bank robbery is when he killed Officer William O'Malley. Dillinger got $75,000 and split it 5 ways. Bonnie and Clyde, the most famous, their biggest take, $1,500, gas station. They never robbed banks. Bonnie and Clyde robbed mom and pop convenience stores and gas stations. Alvin Carpus was not the shoot-'em-up killer gangster that the Barkers, the Barkers were. Freddie and Arthur Barker were cold-blooded killers, easily in a league with Clyde Barrow or Jesse James or Billy the Kid. Okay, so the gang that the Barker Carpus Gang, folks, was without a doubt the most violent, vicious, murderous gang of the whole gangster era. And I tell every tour group, the gang that most of you probably never heard of, didn't know existed, they stole more money, murdered more civilians, and murdered more police than all the big names combined. And for about 9 weeks, they called this home. Okay?
Wow.
Ma Barker. Ma Barker was born Friday, I'm sorry, that was something else, Wednesday, October 1st, 1873 in Ash Grove, Missouri. Her given name was Arizona Donnie Clark. She didn't care for the name Arizona, so she nicknamed herself Katie. When Katie was 19 years old, she met a man named George Elias Barker. They got married and had 4 sons, Herman, Lloyd, Arthur, and Freddie. Ma Barker and all 4 sons will die by gunfire. The age-old question, was Ma Barker a gangster, or was she a mom that got caught in the crossfire? Well, if you read anything at all about Ma Barker, including the story of this, Marion County's own website, you're going to find out that Ma Barker was this cigar-chopping, machine-gun-toting bloody mama. She planned all the robberies, all the kidnappings, drove the getaway car. J. Edgar Hoover said Ma Barker was the most vicious, dangerous, resourceful criminal brain of the last decade. Those are his exact words. If you pick up a different story about Ma Barker, you're going to read based on interviews with friends and family and fellow gangsters who got locked up. They all said the same thing. Ma Barker was a simple, uneducated Southern woman. She liked to stay home and do crossword puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, go to the movies once in a while, and she went to church every Sunday. There's a picture in there of a man named Harvey Bailey. Harvey Bailey grew up with the Barkers. He gave an interview in prison. He said, Harvey Bailey is considered the dean of American bank robbers. Bet you didn't know that job title existed, right? Harvey Bailey got locked up. They interviewed him and said, did Ma Barker ever plan any of this stuff? And he said Ma Barker couldn't plan breakfast. That's probably the 3rd most famous line in all of gangster lore. So what are the facts? I mean, if you interview friends and family, that's what they're going to say. They're going to defend you. But the facts are, Ma Barker was never arrested. She was never police photographed, never fingerprinted, never charged with a crime. Not one time in all these years has anybody ever come forward and placed Ma Barker at the scene of a crime. So what's the verdict? The verdict is it's a hung jury. She's innocent until proven guilty. We get in the house, we're going to give you what we think is the answer now. Based on some documents we have found since the Freedom of Information Act went into effect, we've got some documents we never had before. We get in the house, we'll tell you what we think is the final verdict on Ma Barker. Okay, real quick. January 16, 1935, about 6 o'clock in the morning, 14 men called the flying squad surround this house. They're the same flying squad that's been going all over shooting down the bad guys. That's why they got that name, Flying Squad. Inside the house, there's a map that Agent Connolly drew up, which you can look at. It's not going to help you much because it's a map of the original property. So I'm going to walk you through it really quick. 14 men surround the house. 13 of these men are special agents. One man is special agent in charge. His name is Earl E.J. Connolly. Special agent with the FBI, if you don't know, is somebody who's been authorized by the government to arrest and to use deadly force. Otherwise, you're just an agent in the FBI. So 13 of these men are special agents. E.J. Connolly's in charge. Everything I'm going to tell you is based on Connolly's map Connolly's memo, McDade's memo, and Doc White's memo. There's 3 little buildings sitting right over here, like outhouses. There's a tree line running up. If you've seen the original property, it's wide open. It's not all clustered like this. You can see the main road from here. The agents back there can see us up here. You can see the lake. So it's not all this coverage like this. There's a dirt road running up to the main road, kind of like what we just came down. There's a cottage sitting back here that's occupied, a cottage sitting back there that's not occupied. Behind the first house, as you look at the house, to the left of the first house is Agent McDade. The second house is Agent White. The third house is Agent Muzzy. There's some trees right here. Behind the first tree, looking at those windows, is Agent Jones, Agent McDade, McDowell, and then Agent McDade, all within range of that house. Up at the end of the dirt road is Agent McLaughlin. His car is parked across the dirt road to make sure nobody goes in or out. Agent McDade, who's right here behind the third tree, is the agent who just a few weeks before this shooting was engaged in the shooting and killing of Babyface Nelson in Barrington, Illinois. Back there behind the house is Agent Waltz, Campbell, Sullivan, and Winstead. Agent Sullivan would go on to become the 3rd highest ranking in the FBI behind Hoover and Clyde Tolson. Next to him is Agent Charles Winstead, the man the FBI credits with killing John Dillinger. Over here there's a small garage that belonged to this house. On the other side of the garage is the Barber residence. Over here is the Westbury residence. Between the garage and the Barber residence is Agent McKee and Agent Brown. Agent McKee is the agent who shot and killed Pretty Boy Floyd. Up on the main road is Agent Melvin, watching traffic. At about 7 a.m., just before 7 a.m., just as it started to get light, when Agent Connolly thought it was light enough to see around the building, he approaches the front door. He calls out to everybody in the house, "You are surrounded by agents of the Department of Justice. By the power given to us, everybody's under arrest. You are to come out one at a time with your hands up. Freddie Barker first." He starts to back up. He said, "If you don't come out, I'm going to shoot tear gas into those windows." He starts to back up. He's about 30 yards from the house. He starts to back up. A woman yells, "What are you going to do?" The memo said a woman yells, "What are you going to do?" Because at this point, they're not sure who's in the house. They think there's 5 people. One of them is Dolores Delaney, who is Alvin Karpus's girlfriend. She's just about ready to give birth. She'll give birth to a son 3 days after the shootout in Atlantic City. We don't know if she was yelling to the agent or to her son. We now know it was Ma Barker that yelled. The agents always refer to her in memos as Kate Barker, never Ma. She yells, "What are you going to do?" Connolly's backing up. He hears that. He orders Agent McDade and McDowell over here to shoot the tear gas in. They shoot the tear gas. It hits the house. It doesn't go in the windows. The house and the tear gas opens up out here. So the situation now is it's still a little more dark than light. All the windows are blacked out. When you go in the house, look at the pictures. You'll see all the windows are blacked out. You can't see in from outside. You can't see out from inside unless you move the blacked out curtain. So the windows are blacked out. The agents don't know how many people are in the house, who's going to start shooting at them, and from which floor. And now they've got tear gas in their face. As Connolly starts to back up, the tear gas hits. Machine gun fire starts coming out of the upstairs southwest windows, those 2 right there. Connolly is now on his stomach, back crawling, trying to get to this little outhouse. Agent White and Agent Muzzy, who are here, they start shooting up into the window. At that point, the gunfight goes from shooting down there to shooting over here, about where I am. The gunfight shifts. Freddie Barker has turned the gun this way. When that happens, Agent Jones and McDowell start to return the fire up there. As that happens, according to the memo, shots start coming out of the downstairs southwest windows, those 2. That tells us Ma Barker had to start shooting a gun. There's only 2 people in the house. Somebody's shooting upstairs, somebody's shooting downstairs. Ma Barker is starting to shoot at the agents. There's no other way around it. Agent McDade starts to return fire into that window. That gunfire stops. But the gunfire up here continues. And now it's going to continue for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Somebody's running around the house now, shooting out of every window and every floor. The house is shot up on the outside. All this has been redone. Windows are gone. It's about 20 after 8, according to Connolly. He said, "I realize there's only 2 people in the house. I got to make a move, because where are the other gangsters that we thought were here? They love to go to Miami to go fishing." He said, "It's Wednesday morning. Did they go to Miami for the weekend? Did they leave Miami on Friday, coming back in cars that go 40 miles an hour? They'll be showing up here anytime. We're going to get caught in the crossfire. So he sends his agent, Muzzy, up the dirt road, tells McLaughlin to come down with tear gas and shoot it into the back of the house. He does that, and there's a gunfight out the back windows. When we get upstairs, you go to the right in that first bedroom, you'll see there's still a little ribbon of bullet holes. That gunfight goes on for just a short time. The house has got tear gas. A few seconds later, the gunfight starts out here again. Starts coming out of this window. At about 8:45, everything stopped. Connolly's memo said it got eerily quiet. The gunfight was over. So the agents now wait. And they wait till about noon. Out of the bungalow over here comes a young African-American man named Willie Woodbury. He walks out, Agent White, who's standing about here. He grabs him, pulls him over. What are you doing? He said, I'm the caretaker. He said, my wife and I, Annabelle, have been laying under our bed hiding since early this morning. It's been a couple hours now, we haven't heard anything. I wanted to come out and see what's going on. I work for the Blackburns, Mrs. and J.C. Blackburn, which is an alias the Barkers have used before. He tells him he cooks, he keeps the grounds. He was hired by J.C. Blackburn, which is Freddie Barker. So now here, the story goes off a little bit here. Willie Woodbury was the first one to go into the house. Now that's the report. There's been a couple other reports. At this point, it's a guess. I'm going to be honest with you. But what the best we have is that Willie Woodbury goes in the house first. He approaches the house, it's locked. They get a pocket knife, cut the screen. Willie goes in the house, pops his head out about 2 minutes later out of that window up there, what's left of it, and said they're both up here and they're both dead. Did the agents force Willie in? There's a story that Terry found where he gave an interview and said he was paid $20 to go in. I mention this all because there's a telegraph on FBI Online Vault that you can read from J. Edgar Hoover. He telegraphed Connolly as soon as he heard and said basically, what are you thinking? You're going to send, after this gunfight, you're going to send an African-American guy in? How's that going to look if they shoot him? Connolly responded and said Willie volunteered to go in. Where it goes from there, this is one of those gray areas that we have. Okay. Anyway, he tells them they're both dead. The gunfight is over. They wait for Coroner Futch. He gets here. He goes upstairs. He writes a report that Freddie Barker is face down on a .45 Blue Steel Colt revolver that's fully loaded but jammed and wouldn't work. He says Kate Barker's body was removed from the scene. That's all we have. The coroner report is nowhere to be found.
Little Charlie turns out to be Charles Manson, who we all knew wanted to be a big rock and roll star. He even went to Alvin Carpenter. He thought he had connections in Vegas to get him a job there. So it's kind of interesting. Alvin Carpenter teaches Charlie Manson how to play the guitar.
The Carpus Barker gang. Wow. All right, now we're making our way
Down because it become too expensive to operate.
towards the
Everything
house.
had to be bolted in. Food, gasoline, water, everything.
This is awesome.
Shut it down because it was too expensive to operate. So what
All
we
Barker
do,
killed right up
we
there.
sent all of the prisoners to McNeil Island Penitentiary. It was off the coast of Tacoma. So guess what? Same thing. Have to ship everything in.
When the house was built.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah. The pictures in there you'll see.
I have a house in Anthony that
We're all really
April 14th, 1930.
Shootout, the original picture.
There's the porch Cracker Barrel chairs.
Air conditioning in there.
Oh no.
You gotta get shocked when you hit that AC.
Oh wow, it is AC.
But there's still some of it up there.
This is awesome.
So you can see some of the shots here.
Some of the bullet holes.
Yeah, these are all bullet holes here, and been patched, some here. You know, again, keep in mind, the house was
Right there.
shot up pretty good. The outside was shot
Bullet
up pretty good.
holes.
That's all
ORV.
repaired, because the family lived here. So, you know, in
Here's the
Florida,
house being moved across the lake.
termites and stuff, and they didn't patch up the outside. So.
Here's the house as
But
it sat
every house in here
on
was
Lake Weir,
where it was.
former location.
And you can see the pictures there where the windows are blacked out. You can see where the windows, the blackout curtains are
Okay,
shot.
here is right here where we're standing. Right here are some of the bullet holes. right there. Wow, it's cool.
Up there on the fireplace is the plan for what to turn this all into, where the cottage was, where Willie Woodbury would have been staying, will be coming.
Wow.
Kind of a virtual tour type place. They sell some t-shirts while they're in there. Because we can't make the house accessible.
Right there.
There's a blowhole.
Right there.
Yeah.
It'll be restored. And it will show us.
These are all patched.
That's so cool.
As soon as I come up with three.
I didn't realize how the stairs went up kind of sideways
It's all about money.
in the middle of the house. Oh yeah, there's bullet holes there. They were patched.
Upstairs, there's a bunch of them that have been poked out.
Yeah.
The plaster has been poked out of them. There's one like right above the handrail right there.
Right there.
Poked out.
Oh, right there. Wow, this house was Swiss cheese. We're gonna go up there in a moment. On the dining table, a collection of photographs of the Carpus Barker gang. There's Lloyd Barker, the death photo.
I didn't think it was necessary.
Oh, and here's the room we are standing in
I went to work and I said, she was from.
with that hutch.
And I asked her, I said,
It's right over there. Wow.
she said, well, I sure did. She said,
The furniture is still here from the 1930s. Wow. Fred, Lloyd,
I mean, I don't know if you've seen
George,
they would know that
Herman.
City.
There's a picture of Ma right there. Arizona, Donnie Clark,
Because they didn't know how many people were in there.
Ma Barker.
kind of the same thing.
Okay, here's the room we're standing in again.
From Romania.
Check out the
She was there
chandelier,
at brothel
the table.
in Chicago, and
Now, a lot of that chandelier was shot out.
they was getting
Yeah.
ready to keep her back
Joe
to
Vogt,
Romania.
he
She
replaced a lot
said,
of those.
if you will
Wow.
make a deal with the federal agents, if you want
Time
to
period.
I'll give you John Dillon.
I've been to a lot of places like this. I've never seen one so exact as it was.
It's amazing.
Got $300 or $400 reward money.
Wow.
And they
Yeah,
deported
it's
her back to
amazing that this kept
Romania.
this way.
Okay, here's the kitchen. This is where the tour guide said Ma Barker started firing back at the agents outside. Was the first time she started firing the Tommy gun was somewhere in this vicinity. I think he said out these two windows. This was the toilet. So Ma Barker would have been firing back at the agents out this window and out this window. Right there. And look, keep in mind, this house is allegedly haunted by the ghost of Ma Barker herself. Ooh, spooky. I can't wait to get upstairs. Check out the old refrigerator. Now that's probably 1950s.
Did they actually
Wow.
have indoor plumbing?
Love the floor in here.
Yeah, Randy Bolger was a problem.
Very 1950s.
My son is a lieutenant at the prison.
I think we're gonna go upstairs next. Back into the front room. The stairs, you kind of have to walk up here. You can either go out to the living room where we walked in through the front door, or you can go up the steps, and I think that's where everyone's going right now. Bullet hole. Here we go.
Go in that bedroom to the right.
The bedroom to the right. Let's check this out. Oh wow. Right there.
And most of the holes you will see is where they have been patched.
Patched in the dry, it fell
Dug
out.
at them and take the repair out of them.
This is cool. There's some more over here. And the other bedroom here, check out the photo. Also the bullet holes up here in the corners. The furniture and the rocking chair, all the same. This house is a time machine. Wow. Then, same bed, same mirror, same furniture, same table even, same rocking chair. Right there. And the bullet holes, still here as well. Wow. Some there. Some over here. Bathroom here in the middle of the house on the right hand side, and this bedroom up here is where they found Mal Barker and Fred Barker dead. There's a bullet hole right there before the bedroom. There's also another bedroom over here and a closet right there full of quilts. Wow, that chair was here.
Yeah.
Bullet holes right there.
Here, I'm gonna turn around so you can see the back of it. It's got several small ones, small rounds and some bigger rounds.
It's like 45 maybe.
These two probably 45 rifle.
Came from that high-powered rifle too.
Yeah.
Still here.
Okay, is that the chair there?
Yes, that chair.
That's
was
it?
all shot out right here in this corner. So how does a guy take 10 shots from a high-powered rifle? After the first one, you want to get out of the way, or it would have knocked you out of the way. Our theory: this chair was sitting in this area. We think, theory, Freddie is only 5'4", weighs about 115 pounds. Little bitty guy. We think he's out here and he's looking through the corners of these blinds when the high-powered rifle catches him all these 10 shots. But then that theory kind of goes bad because you're thinking, how does a guy, you're going to do some flinching, you're going to do some moving. So we know he had 3 bullet wounds to his head. 2 was pretty bad. 1 was just a skim off his skull. We really believe that Freddie was probably dead when the 10 shots from the high-powered rifle came through. Eventually, like I said, if this bed was smaller, tipping this chair over, he ends up
Got pushed over into the bed.
laying there on the floor.
Right there.
That's
where he died. Okay.
But the day of the shootout, there was just a single bed here, which would have been way smaller than this, and a single bed over there. Freddie's found laying here on the floor.
Fred Barker
This is
here.
one of the original pictures. You can see Maul laying in front of that closet door there. So if you would like to lay down there and have your picture taken, you will not be the first.
That's where Mal Barker was found dead.
You'll notice the black outline. You'll notice
Right there.
here has these 10.
All this stuff was here.
And I haven't told anything about it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Just to show them, not to cut the area off, but you can see all this, all through here, through here.
If you open that closet, you'll notice the floors have not been refinished in there. Marion County Forensics has been out here and sprayed their blue stuff for blood. There is a little big splat or bits of blood in there, but not enough for them to tell.
And this is where they found Mal, right here. In this spot.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Right over here.
She was laying on her left side,
Up against the
knees
post.
up to her chest.
Yeah.
And why the agents felt it necessary, they said her knees were up to her chest, she was barefooted, and her slippers were under her bed.
The door's shut.
Why that's necessary, I don't know,
There she is.
but yeah.
That mirror is not original
Wow.
the day of the shootout, but when you take that
Thank
mirror
you.
down, there are
Here's the corner that I'm looking at right now. This is the photo taken after the shootout. Notice all of this, all the bullet holes. Right there. Then, now, I like that you can make out this streak here. Right there. You can see that in the photograph. Right there above the door. You can almost make out every indentation then and now right there. The patches. That is so cool. And imagine the tram that we took here. That was where the FBI, the agents were shooting up into this room when they shot Mal Barker. She was shooting out of these windows right here with a Tommy gun. And allegedly they found her right there with the Tommy gun nearby or in her hand. And Fred Barker is laying dead right there. I think this is the same bed even. Same bed, same desk, same chair. Here you go. This is a picture of Mal Barker lying dead here in 1935. Notice the door behind her shoulder is the closet door in the trim. And I believe this door, the entryway, the entry door to the room, was open behind her as well. Right there. And I had to lay in the spot that they found Mal, right here. If you take a screenshot, it'll last longer. Knock on wood. All right, now that I have the door shut and I'm in the room all alone with the ghost of Malt Barker. Ooh, check it out. 1935 and today. Malt Barker, we come in peace, and we want to thank you for allowing us to come inside, especially inside this room, and we mean you no harm, and we mean respect. We have respect for you. To the ghost of Malt Barker. Wow. Right here. Then, now, this is where it happened. I'm in the 4th bedroom. Check this out. The hutch to the left by the closet, and this here, the mirror, the bed. Look at this. Then, now, everything is still here as it was in 1935. That is crazy. Also, look at the banister out the door there. It's right behind that gentleman there. Right there. This is so cool. Kind of reminds me of the stairs from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house I saw out in Austin earlier this year when I was doing those filming locations. Just a little bit. Another photo of the day.
Do anything, it just comes down to
January 16, 1935. Looking at this corner now.
Did you see that?
Right there. Notice the molding. And right here, the doorway.
All weird configuration, how that was all done.
And this lamp
Yeah, that lamp is there.
is still there. That's awesome. I love stuff like that.
That's the original sign.
This is the original sign of the summer rental. It was called the Bel Air. That's what Mom Barker knew it as.
I got nothing.
That is so cool.
That is cool.
Like the Bel Air of Clearwater. I didn't hear it, I'm sorry. Is it a long story?
No, it just, most tours somebody asked about whether there's a ghost in the house. What happened was, on the tour last July, I was standing about right here. The park ranger was standing there. We were just finishing the 1 o'clock tour to go pick up the 3 o'clock tour. And that easel was here. That easel with that map was standing right there. And I was talking about Al Capone. And as I started to talk about Al Capone, that easel came, I don't want to say flew, but that easel came across and plowed, hit into these, knocked those fireplace equipment over.
Those are pretty heavy.
So, yeah, because that thing weighs maybe 2 pounds. But it came across
This one here.
that distance and hit that. The park ranger who was standing there said to me, his words were, "What the hell was that?" And I said, "Thomas, I don't know. I never seen anything like that." Later, after the tour, he come over to me and he said, "There is no way that happened without it being pushed." Now, he saw the whole thing. I caught it out of the corner of my eyes. It started to hit. Now, is that a ghost story? I don't know, but that's the only thing I can tell you happened in this house. And
That's
I
pretty
can't
creepy.
Explain other.
And he said it came on, she said she saw Malt Barker's body laying on the couch, and she wasn't dead. She says when they moved her from that upstairs bedroom, they brought her down here and laid her on that couch, and said that she wasn't completely dead. And then, you know, that kind of had me freaked out, because that's maybe why we don't have a coroner report.
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe she wasn't dead upstairs.
Yeah, why he mentioned anything.
That's also the spot where the thing fell.
It is the spot where the thing fell.
All right, Malt Barker. Thanks for having us.
Marion County.
Thank you so much.
Even a little bit they've done, when I say that money, and all that, to allow us to come in. Okay.
Okay, here we go. To the porch.
Okay.
Yeah, I was supposed to stay here for 3 weeks.
Cracker Barrel chairs.
She said, "You don't go home?" I said, "No." She said, "You can get your butt."
And the original screen door.
No, I don't go home.
You said, "No, I am home."
Yeah.
Wow. Here we are. Heading back to the tram over here. Malt Barker. Always wanted to do that, guys. Always wanted to do that. Ever since I first learned of it 13 years ago, living here in Ocklawaha. Today, it finally happened. Today. So cool.
We probably thought writing something else.
Nice little 360 of the house before we go. That's where the kitchen was, the refrigerator right behind that wall. Kitchen up there. That's where they were shot dead and found. See Ma in the window. Goodbye. Closing it up. Last tour of the day. And we are back at the parking lot where we started. We paid at the end. It was $10 for the tour, but I handed the guy 20 bucks. I thought his knowledge, everyone did an exceptional job on this tour, throwing out information. It was one of the best, most inexpensive experiences I've ever had till this day. Events that transpired at that house here in Ocklawaha. It inspired a lot of movies and film and stories, and to learn all that here today and see the house, not in the original location, to see the original location too, but to see the house as it was on that day back in 1935. Thanks to the family who owned the house all of the years since then. Thanks to them for preserving it and keeping it so we could see it here today at Carney Island Park. Wow, I'm speechless, but I enjoyed the tour so much. It is now 5 o'clock. It was exactly 2 hours. We spent a good amount of time out before the house on the tram. The tour guides gave a lot of history and information that was much appreciated before going. That actually took about an hour, and then we got about 45 minutes to an hour inside the house. So if you're planning on coming out here, make sure you tell them Tampa Jay sent you and get on the waiting list, because they only do a few tours a week out here, and this is the middle of the week, Wednesday, which also made it hard for me because I work Monday through Friday. So I had to take a day off, and it was well worth it. Here comes the classic Corvette. Look at that. They were on the tour with me. That's awesome. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and if it was your first time here, subscribe below. Always going on adventures and tracking down some fun here on this channel. I love making videos. I love putting content out there, and it still shocks me to this day that anyone watches, and thank you so much for doing that. It means the world to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, everyone. Thank you so much. As for now, this video is over. Again, I hope you enjoyed my experience out here in my former home of Ocklawaha. A lot of memories out here, so it was very cool to see this place once again. I can't wait to bring Chris the Girl, shout out to my girlfriend, Chris the Girl on YouTube. Can't wait to bring her out here and show her these places as well. And we will most likely document that experience as well and show some other things around Ocklawaha and all of that. So shout out to Chris. Thanks for hanging back and taking care of Bella today. I appreciate you, and I love you, and I miss you. And that's it. That's the video. Know you're awesome, know you're loved, and know there's always much ahead. Got a ton of plans this summer, through the fall and through the winter. So much stuff is planned. See you guys. Thank you. Enjoyed the tour. Thank you. What a great day out here. It was a beautiful day for it. Oh, better put my seatbelt back on. Don't want to end up like Barker. Ooh.